eyes. Begin Within Ministries proudly presents Sofa Sundays with your hosts, Reverend Dr. Michelle Izuku and Reverend Jeannie Sovereigns. Sundays at 11:11 a.m. Arizona time and rebroadcasts on Mondays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Come join us on the sofa every Sunday morning. Sofa Sundays with Michelle and Jeannie. Learn more at www.beginwithinministries.com. In partnership with New Thought Media Network.
Because it looks like we're doing it. Nope. Still nothing.
It says picking you guys up.
It says that it's
And now. Maybe.
it's not coming through.
Did I even unmute y'all? I did.
Did you unmute us?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anybody? Anybody?
It says picking you up.
There we go. Now we're here. Now let's turn it down. There we go. So that's the morning creation.
I don't know why it's showing like that though.
What?
Like how it's like all black around and there, and then it's just like you guys right there.
Why? What does it normally do?
And normally it's all like filled out.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's how it is today. I don't know.
All right.
It might be one of the things.
I think it's one of these, but.
Yeah. As you can tell. Look,
Nope.
we went away all together. And can everybody hear Anne finishing her coffee?
I can.
I could.
Sorry. I always make noise.
Oh, there
There you go. You got it. So welcome to Sofa Sundays, where technical issues. Did I tell you heathens call me? Heathens call me all the time. That's actually my tree guy, but yeah. Heathens call me at 11:11, no matter what. And I say, do you not know I'm in church at that moment? Do you not know? I mean, but, and they usually do, and they forget. Yeah. Hi, Deb.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing fabulous.
I am so glad to see you.
So am I.
This is our first time on the sofa
It is
together.
alone, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the three of us.
The
were
three of
there
us had done it,
after
yeah.
the concert, but yeah. First time us.
Yeah. Which Deb and I have been friends for like over a decade, and we go out a couple of times a year to dinner, and to the point that we closed down the dinner place.
That's correct.
3 to 4 hours long with our, whatever bowl of whatever we eat. And so it's so good. And we'll try not to do that to you guys. Okay. As we have this conversation, we will try to end on time, but no guarantees.
Exactly.
Yes. So we're here today at the Unleash Your Life Studios, home of Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington, and her amazing practices, of which I am in, Anne is in, we have Evie is in. We do a Best Year Yet every year. And next month in November 8th, is it November 8th? We have Invite a Friend Day. So if you are interested and in the local area, actually, let me take that back. Even if you're not in the local area, because we do have people in other states who Zoom in. So if you are interested in finding out more about this, send me an email at sofasundaysjs@gmail.com, and I will get you set up to join us on the Best Year Yet next month. And you can find out more about that practice. Is it the 8th you were checking? Yep. Okay, yes. All right. So we're located at 7220 North 16th Street between Glendale and Northern. And that's in Phoenix, Arizona, 85020. So you can find us because the girls are on the door and we're in building A1. All right. I think I hit that. And let me see. Do I usually say anything else? Nope, I don't think so. It's pretty much it on the beginning thing. This month we are doing creativity. And one of the things I can say about this woman sitting next to me is she is creativity informed for real.
She is.
So I am so glad that you're here for this topic this month, and I can't wait to dive into this. So
Me too.
let's
do it.
see. You want to open us up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And as the sound of that vibration floats into our being, we go inward. Taking a deep breath, allowing yourself to feel the expansion of your body with the inhalation, and then the relaxing of your body with the exhalation. We know there is one power, and we are all of that power. I call forth today the divine energy of creativity that is in each and every one of us. It is the expression of that one power. It is expansive. It is always, always creating. I send these words out to each and every person who is hearing today what is being shared. As that creative force flows through each and every one of us, we feel that power flowing through us as we, each and every one, are the expression of it. And may each and every person who is within the sound of my voice be open, calling forth that which they desire. For it is within that creative energy that all of our desires are met. And so I release these words out into the universe, knowing that we are all one. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. Lovely. So today, creativity flows through me with every breath I take. Well, because creativity is the divine.
Absolutely.
So the breath I take is the divine, and that divine movement of breath is my creativity. So what happens when I feel stuck creatively? Feels like I can't breathe, right? When I feel stuck creatively, then like I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my breath. I can feel it in my joints. You know, I don't move. I don't express. You know, that's how stuck energy feels in me. And I have found that when that happens, I'm generally experiencing depression, sadness, grief, you know, something along those lines. And then to get that moving for me, I have to do something. I have to actually physically do something in either movement, ecstatic dance, yoga. Michelle and I took a belly dancing class. Sing or scream. Those are two of my options as well.
Sing or scream.
Sing or scream. If I'm around where people could hear me, I generally sing off key. Screaming happens in my vehicle by myself at the top of my lungs. That helps move that energy out of me. Coloring. I have a few adult coloring books, that I love to do. Mandalas, Goddess Warrior, curse words, whatever floats your boat. I made these little pumpkins. They are toilet paper rolls that are wrapped in yarn with cinnamon sticks. Yeah. So they're, creativity doesn't have to be Van Gogh type art, right? Like it doesn't have, right? It doesn't have to be the Mona Lisa, which is very small, actually. I've seen it in person. It's an 8x10. It's not as big as you think, right? It's very small. So right, creativity doesn't have to be that. Creativity can also be like how you dress. I know this is hard to believe, but I feel I'm very creative. How you put your makeup on for women, or men, depending on who you are and what you wear. How you do your hair, how you express in the world. I was, at Amton a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I go through every day in a polo shirt and khaki pants, right? So when I'm not at work, I am not wearing that, right? That is, because that's my uniform and has been even prior to this job. When I worked at Fry's, that was my uniform. So, for the last 20 years, I've been in khaki and a polo, right? And so when I'm outside of that time period, absolutely. I don't even want to wear those things, so I'm in flowy caftans and people go, ooh, where do you shop? I tell them Amazon. I go to Amazon and I say colorful dresses or colorful caftans, and amazing things come up. So, however, how do you express?
Well, the first thing that I want to say before I answer that question is the question that comes up for me is when I'm in my uniform, as you say, some of us have that, some of us don't. Am I still consciously aware that I'm still being creative? That to me is when you first started talking about it and talking about how feeling, what does it feel like when I'm stuck? The first thought that came to me is, well, that's a mental perception. Because in reality, creatively, we're never stuck. Because as energy, as I said in the opening prayer, we're always creating.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the most important aspect for us to really be in tune with, is recognizing no matter whether today I feel like it's important that I don't express myself in a certain way, I'm still expressing myself creatively. And so recognizing that when I do get in those places where I feel like I'm not really being creative today, the first thing that comes to me is, well, that's a lie. Don't tell yourself that, Deb, because that's a lie, because you are still creating. Whether my business is bookkeeping and accounting, and for years I didn't feel that was creative, but it is. And I like what you said about it doesn't have to be something major to recognize that it's creative.
Right.
Sometimes it's just creative in the things that we say.
Yes.
It can be the words that we choose. I love to sing, so obviously that's an obvious one that it's creative. However, even in speaking, I recognize that that's creative too. So what do I want to create?
Right.
What am I creating through my words? What am I creating through the way I dress? Through the way I do my hair and my makeup? What is it I'm creating? And to recognize that I'm creating the expression of the God energy that's in me. Because it's never the same for everybody.
Right. Oh no, I say that I am here to give God a good time as Jeannie.
Yeah.
And that's like my motto, right? And I love that what you're saying. Well, even though I wear my uniform, I wear jewelry. If I have 15, 20 pairs of glasses that change. I have socks that I have crazy compression socks. My little plug for them. I love them. There's things I can do outside of the uniform thing that allow me to express who I am. And with that, who you are as an expression of the divine is that creative energy. Like you said, you take that breath in. Who am I? Right? There are several things that have happened in my life over the last, 5 or 6 years that have shown me who I am expressing as the divine. Sofa Sundays is one of them. I have a few other little social media outlets that I do. I've started a thing called Holy Shift, right? And, where it's just about like taking normal things that I go through in the day and trying to shift that perspective. And I started it for myself, really. And we've been talking about that this whole month, about how your creativity is for you.
That's right.
Now, when you express it, it helps others, right? But the original purpose for it is that, it's for us to enjoy and move and have our being, so that's why I started Holy Shift. And then I get little things on email or messenger and they're like, I'm really loving this. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it's resonating with others too. But it was really to help me change my perspective. Because sometimes that's, like you said, we're never not creating, but what do I want to create?
Exactly.
And sometimes I was creating stuff I didn't want.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and anybody who's ever been in the kitchen has had that experience, right? You like, this sounds pretty good, and then like you do it and you're like, that didn't work out. I've done cakes that I'll be like, oh, I know this is going to be great, and then fail, and I'm cry. What happened? And so yeah, there's there are time periods where if I'm not paying attention and I'm not being mindful, I can create something I don't want. So that's one of the biggest things I think that, in our teaching, in science of mind teaching, change your thinking, change your life. But it's not like he was the first person to come up with that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Plato said it. You know what I mean? Like,
and who knows before that?
Right. Who knows exactly? Some indigenous person said, "Hey, buddy, like what we think about, we create." And so, let us create what we want. Create a life you love. Create the abundance you want. And yes, I get it. We're not all magical thinkers. I'm not saying that the world's problems are solved by you thinking. No. But it's the start.
Exactly.
Change the thought, get the feeling behind it, create that energy, that frequency, and then we bring it.
Right.
And as that happens, yes. Look at the creativity. I'm not going to get too political, but let's look at the creativity of yesterday, shall we?
Fun stuff.
Yes.
Fun,
Yes.
fun stuff. These protests were people in blow-up costumes.
Yes. Yeah.
Having a dance party. At least, I don't know your world, but at least here in Phoenix and in Scottsdale, that's how it was. That was it was a creative expression for people to say what they believed in. I'm not trying to get political. I'm just trying to give an example of how the world can take how they think and feel and put that into a positive way of expressing their beliefs in a way that harms no one.
Right.
And that to me was an amazing experience to see and witness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to share that I was thinking about that I wanted to share today was I have gone through a series of growth in this area of creativity. And when I was in high school, I took an art class because it was required, not because I was interested in it, because I was required. I hadn't had anybody around me at that time who was creative in that area. And I had a uncomfortable experience with the art teacher, and then was moved into biology, and I didn't like biology. So here was this thing in my head that art is never going to be something that I do because of the fact of what I had experienced. So flash forward many, many, many years later, I have a daughter who is extremely artistic, very artistic. And I would not even allow myself to experience trying to make the attempt to do anything artistically because of this story that had been in my head for so long, and then seeing my daughter create these amazing things. And as she grew up, at some point, we talked about it, and she said to me, just give it a try. Just give it a try. Well, she had taken classes, so she has all this down of what is the, not right and wrong ways, but like instructions of being artistic, and looking at it a certain way.
Like how to do the medium or
yes,
the shading
exactly.
or whatever.
Yeah, and all that. And you start in this step and you do this step. I couldn't do that. And it wasn't because I didn't want to. It's just not part of my thinking. And that's not the way my brain works. So I sat down one time and I went, I'm going to make the attempt, and I'm going to try drawing. And so I got colored pencils and stuff. And I picked this picture that had a dragon in complete detail, because I thought, I want to copy something. That's how I'll start this, I did this entire picture. And when she saw what I was doing, she went, oh my God, Mom. And I go, what? And she goes, you picked like the most difficult thing to do. And I go, yeah, but I'm doing it. And and it turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
When I was done, she went, I'm amazed. I would have never done it that way. And that stuck in my brain, and I went, it's got to be my way. It's got to be the way I express it.
Right.
It's got to be the way I do it, not listening to other people telling me how to do it. Yeah, I can hear what they say, and some of it may work for me, but I was stuck on, I have to do it the way people tell me to do it. And so I couldn't.
And that will squash your own
Absolutely.
creativity.
It did in that area.
Right.
Absolutely.
Especially, like you said, you had that experience when you were younger. And I had a similar thing, and there's a couple of them around this room, but back in the 80s, there were these several part paintings. And they were done usually in 3 parts, and usually had some kind of stucco type of feel to it, right? And so I was creating these things and selling them, and I was in my early 20s. I was creating these things, and they were abstract art and had glitter, and they were me, right? And they were all kinds of things. And he was my boyfriend at the time. He came downstairs. We had this 3-story house in Philly. He came downstairs to the basement where I was working, and he said something along the lines of, "Don't you think that's too much glitter?" And I used to have a bit of a temper, and I threw these things, and I was dramatic, and I threw these things, and I was never going to touch it again. And I really did. I stopped doing those paintings. I stopped doing those expression and because I allowed somebody else's opinion of something that I was doing that, one, I was successful at, and 2, I enjoyed, so that, if we allow someone else's opinion to come and override our own expression. Oh, that's a shutdown mode, right? It's like, now I can no longer express like that. And that was a box I closed for a very long time.
I've talked about this before with Reverend Michelle here. It takes a level of spiritual maturity, of growth, to be in that place of recognizing this is not selfishness. This is self that I'm expressing, and everything I do is for me first.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
And so recognizing that and being able to really stay in that place as much as possible for me has really helped me, because then I go, and I'm not always there.
Right. Oh,
I'm human, and I recognize that over the years, I am there more and more, where if I do something that's creative, I recognize, okay, how do I feel about that? Yeah, it's not quite done yet. Let me do this. And then if somebody comes and says something about it, I'm like, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I really don't care what you think about it.
Yeah.
Of course, there's that human part of when somebody says something nice, my ego goes, thank you.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yes, I do enjoy a good, wow, that's cool.
Exactly.
And that's amazing, and I really like that. And I'm with you. I remember, I think it was Wayne Dyer that I heard him talking about one of his books, right? And then how the publisher had all the, letters about, how great it was and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. Right.
Yes.
He's like, you can keep, he's like, that's as much to me as everybody who disliked it. You can either way, because their opinion doesn't matter to me.
Mine.
Yes.
It's mine.
Yes.
And when you think of that, and if you can embrace it, because like you said, it is a sign of spiritual maturity, emotional maturity, to be able to say, I am doing this for me,
Right.
for self-expression, not selfishness, right? Of course, like if your creativity is cooking and it's disgusting, okay, you might need to, you might want to listen there. But, people walk away from the dinner table, find a new self-expression. I'm kidding. Maybe sort of. No. And I think about this one time, I can cook pretty decent. And I learned, like most young wives, hit and miss, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking about this first time I made, everybody heard Swedish meatballs, right? And okay. So this is before Google, okay? And I had a cookbook, but it didn't have a recipe in it for that. And I decided to wing it. Oh my God. The most disgusting, great jellied, burger bombs ever. And my husband, God bless him, there's something about 20-year-olds, right? I was like 21, he was 23. And he ate it and asked for seconds.
Oh my goodness.
And it was gross. It was the most disgusting thing ever. And I just looked at him and just knew he loved me, right? Like, thank you, Adam. Thank you for being that person. Dakota and I have a thing where we say, that's not a keeper. Like if something's gross, or and nowadays it's not as bad as that, right? I have learned what goes together 30, 40 years later. But now we'll say that's not a keeper. At least it's edible these days. So, you have to be, creativity is one thing.
Yes.
But learning what you like and what you want to put out in the world is, I think, so important as part of, self-discovery.
Yes.
Right? Because a lot of times we do our self-discovery and it's excavating our pain and our trauma, and necessary, absolutely. But excavating the parts of us that, like, you learned that you could draw, you just weren't doing it the Gemini way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we talk about
She
this.
is a Gemini,
Yeah, we
yes.
both have Geminis in our lives, and we're both Cancers, and there is a difference in the thought process
Yeah.
between the two signs that we've discovered. And but yeah, like, you learned, oh no, this is a box that I can break out of. I just have to do it this way.
Right.
So I think that's important when we're excavating our creativity, to find out what it is that's ours. Anne cooks, right? And anybody that knows Anne knows that Anne cooks like crazy. And she says, but I'm not a baker. She made an amazing cake yesterday. Like, it was chocolatey and delicious and moist. And I was like, but you are, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, I'm not a cake decorator because it did say hippie birthday.
it did
Michelle.
say hippie birthday. It did say hippie birthday. But in the grand scheme of things, shouldn't we all have a hippie birthday? You know, I need to have a hippie birthday, actually.
Your hips have
But
a
my
birthday.
hips have their own birthdays. So do my knees. So do my knees. They all have their own birthdays. I could celebrate all kinds of birthdays with my new parts.
That's right.
Yeah, I
That's
could
right.
have several a year.
So one of the things that has come to me as we've been talking is recognizing that, as we know, our brain has different hemispheres, the left side and the right side, that does different things, and I'm not going to get into the scientific stuff about that. I use one area of my brain when I'm doing my work,
Mm-hmm.
and I use another area of my brain when I'm doing the creative stuff.
Yep.
Okay. What I've found is that, like, sometimes when I'm doing my business work, sometimes I'll get challenged by trying to figure something out that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is I stop and I go do something creative. I don't think about it anymore. I just go do something creative. And then the next day or so, when I go back to my business side, there's always the answer for me. It's very clear. And I see that as the process of balancing the two areas of not just our brain, but of the areas of our life as well too.
Oh, absolutely.
And that to me was a real awakening the first time I experienced that, because I'm like, oh, this creative energy is really, really powerful, And so looking at that going, oh, but my business is creative too. So it's removing the compartmentalization
there you go. Yeah,
of it, because we aren't compartmentalized, we're
Right.
whole.
we're whole. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that you talk about that because as you were speaking, I was thinking about my business. And I always considered myself to be really creative, musically and with food and writing as growing up. And when I got into business for myself, then my focus was business. And I felt like I had to kind of set aside my creative endeavors because business writing is different from writing, moody teenage poetry. But the truth is, I think that one of the reasons that I'm successful in business, and probably you too, or anybody entrepreneurial, is that that both sides I have to use both sides of my brain.
Right.
It's definitely the analytical part that deals with the specifics and the legalities and the structure, but it's the creativity that allows me, well, let's see, how could I get more clients? Where would I do outreach? What would be a way to get people's attention? And so I think that balance is so necessary, well, in anything, but especially in business, because business in and of itself doesn't necessarily lend itself to creativity, but unless we put it in there,
Exactly.
Just hearing your talk reminded me of one of my favorite movies, Ed Wood, which, for those who haven't seen it, is basically it's based on a true story, apparently, where there's this director, Ed Wood, and in his later years, he befriended, kind of coincident, we're in a Halloween time, Bela Lugosi, and the whole movie was about how the creativity of Ed Wood and the fun and joy and love behind his creativity rubbed off on Bela Lugosi and other figures.
Right.
Not figures, but so a lot of the creativity, it can also be inspiring
Absolutely.
to others.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
infectious.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so. I just want for FBI purposes to say she's not saying she's a creative bookkeeper.
In that pejorative sense.
In that way.
Exactly.
I don't know. That joke's been sitting there for a little bit. I had to get it out. And so I loved how you said about like when I'm thinking about something, I can't come up with a solution. I go to, do something creative, and I do that at work too. Where, if I'm trying to like figure out, especially and with mine when it comes to budgets or trying to figure out how much money I have in what area, whatever. And, if something's not working the way it's supposed to, then that is one of the things I do. I get up from my desk, I go somewhere else, I either walk or I do something that moves my energy, right? Because that's what the creative part of our brain does, right? It moves our energy.
Right.
It's moving, like we were saying, we are creative energy moving with every breath we take. So doing something that moves my energy, then I feel like the brain starts to go, oh, okay,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
That I have another way of operating.
Mhm.
Like that oxygen got in there.
Yes.
Because sometimes that's what I feel like when we're trying to, like you said, you can't be stuck, but sometimes you feel it.
Exactly.
You feel that way. And sometimes it does feel like the oxygen has been sucked out of my brain and I can't think, and I have two modes that happen there. Then I just chill and Zoom on my phone, desk scrolling, whatever you want to,
Yeah.
Zoom scrolling and doom scrolling, that's what it's called. And, or whatever. And I like blank out, I numb out. And we talked about that yesterday in class about part of one of the, themes of fight, flight, or freeze. That's a freeze topic of distraction and zoning out. And for me, that'll happen. And if I really want to move it, like if it's something I really want to do, then I can't allow that part to take over. I've got to move my body. I got to move my mind. So, pick up and write. I've been a journaler since I don't even know. It's gotten me in trouble my entire life because I write things down and people read it. So I have been grounded as a child for more things than they never would have known had I not written it down. I wouldn't have got, but this is why I'm so grateful I grew up prior to social media, because I was doing it to myself on a small scale. Can't even imagine had I been a child during this time period, it definitely would have been in a home for wayward girls longer than it was already. So it is important, I think, to balance those parts of ourselves, both in analytical and creativity, and to not compartmentalize that, to realize that that analytical part of us is still creative, just not bookkeeping, FBI.
Well, you're really describing what I was getting ready to clarify is when I say things like you're never stuck, you're always creating. It's exactly that. We are always creating. Well, what are we focusing on?
Mm-hmm.
Where is our consciousness? And it's perfectly okay at any time to go, yeah, I'm going to shut down here.
Yeah.
I'm going to shut down here for now.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And it's even necessary at times for many of us, many times, to just, no, I'm going to shut down right now. But I'm still, I just want to recognize that even in when I'm shutting down, I'm only shutting down a portion. Because we can't shut down completely unless we're brain dead or dead.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then there's question about that too.
Right. Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Don't even go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, resting, right? I think that's important for creativity too, right? And health in general. We need to be able to rest. Rest our eyes, as my grandfather used to say as he snored away. I'm just resting my eyes. You know, to rest our souls, you know, to have a chance to integrate the things that we create. I think there's a lot of times that, for me, I will speak for myself, that I go, do, and like I accomplish these things that I have there on my check off list, and then I keep going, well, what's next, without integrating what it is that I have experienced, so that it becomes a part of me and not just something I had on a list to check off.
Exactly. Yeah. You mentioned the word excavating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, when we excavate, we're preparing for something to be created.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said, it's important that we excavate. However, then the next step then is to, okay, what do I want to create?
Right. What do I want to build here?
Exactly.
Now that, and we're kind of doing this, like, it's happening at my work right now. We're getting new floors. And the previous floors were tile. So the guys came in, we had to move everything. They came in with their jackhammers. They had to, like, there's like 4 of them. They're digging it up. There's dust everywhere. It is a chaotic mess in that place, right? To remove all this tile. Now, and we're not at the point where we have new floors yet. So things are all over the place. So when you were saying that, I was thinking a lot of that, right? Where in excavating, things are all over the place when you're excavating,
Yeah.
right? You have chaos for sure, and you know, now you know what the idea is. Like, I know I picked out the tile, right, or the new flooring. I know that it's going to be gorgeous and beautiful, but right now we're not there. And I remember when I had the cake business, this is how it went. I have an idea, I sketched it out, I saw what it was going to be in my head. I'd bake, I'd cut, I'd decorate, looks nothing like it. Try again. I'd bake, I'd cut, I'd decorate. There's no way I could have ever made money at this business because I had to get rid of like 3 to 5 cakes in the process of actually making a cake. And so I just wasn't that, it was good, I just wasn't that quick at doing it. There was a process for me. And if they had to pay me by the hour, the cake would be $1,000. So, you know, there'd be times where it looked bad. Oh my gosh, this is great. Bad. Oh, look at this. And by the time I gave it to the person who had ordered it, they're like, oh, this is amazing. Thanks so much. Like, with no idea of what I went through. You know, like, I mean, there were time periods where, you know, I was 15, 16 hours, like, trying to make sure it looked like whatever it was they ordered. And, you know, and it never, you know, like in my head, it never did. And then by the time it was done, you know, they're like, oh, great, you know. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And then if I happened to be at the place and they wanted me to cut it, I was like, are you kidding me? You want to eat this? What?
That's a work of art.
It's my work of art. I can't believe you want me to cut. I got cut pieces in my trash can. I would have read that. It was horrible. Yeah, you know, so, yeah. I just think, so creative edible art is not my thing anymore. That was a very hard one for me.
Another thing that came up for me since we've been talking here is, you know, there's a lot of victim consciousness going on in the world.
Mm.
And what I've recognized is when we are focused on our creativity, there is no victim consciousness.
Mm. How beautiful.
Because there's no power in victim consciousness, but there is divine power in creativity.
Yes, yes, there is divine power in creativity. I love that. And as you know, we were speaking, like you want power in your life, right? That's where it's at.
That's right.
It's in that creativity. It's in that every breath. It is in the divine consciousness. And remember, it's for you first anyway.
That's
Right?
right.
Creativity is put that mask on you first before helping others.
Yeah.
That is your divine airport, oxygen mask.
Well, you have to divine inwards for anything to come out.
Let's say that again.
You have to divine inward for anything to come out.
So Ann said you have to divine inward for anything to come out anyway.
Right.
Absolutely. Right? Because that's where we're going for it. Right? If everything we ever need is already within us, then this creativity that comes out of us is what's showing us who we are.
That's right.
In whatever case it may be, whether, like we were talking about, whether it's parenting, whether it's our job, whether it's, our expression of how we operate in the world or what we create in the world, writing, singing, painting, any of those type of things. All of this shows who we are as an expression of the divine.
So I want to be very clear about what I'm about to share because this is just my experience. There was a time in my life when I was busy taking every class, every workshop, listening to every person that had any kind of spiritual insights. And I would attempt to follow what they were teaching. And it never quite worked for me. I never did find the guru.
Right.
And we know how that goes, right? And in one of my meditations, I heard very clearly, why are you looking from without? Everything you need, everything you want, every answer. It's your questions. You've got the answer.
Absolutely. You already have the answer.
Now, I'm not saying don't take classes, don't do any of that. I've just gotten to the place in my life where I go inward first all the time. All the time. I go into meditation. I'll pick up a book and I'll read something. I'm like, okay, I want to meditate on this. Because I really have found that that's where my answers are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely would agree. Everything has already been given to us. Right? Everything that exists is already here and present. And learning to listen to ourselves is an important step in this creative process. Being able to say, right here, I feel,
Yes.
I know. I mean, we've all had an intuitive hit where it tells you, oh, don't go down that street, or if you answer the phone, it's going to be so and so, whatever it may be. Like, we've all had that experience.
Or who's going to sit on the sofa?
Or who's going to sit on the sofa today? We've all had those experiences, and as we learn to listen to them more and more and act from that space, we can trust it.
Yes.
And we can trust ourselves. You are God. Trust it.
Right. So now when I take a class or read something, I go within, I take it within. Instead of going, I have to follow their way. I have to follow their way. Now I bring it, it's like the art thing. Now I bring it in and go, okay, so how does this fit for me? And sometimes I go, no, it doesn't quite fit. Or, oh, this kind of does, but it needs to fit within my realm of creativity.
Yeah, I love that. And I just experienced a lot of that when I was at Anton, going to, so many speakers and so many workshops. And these are all new thought-minded people from divine science, from religious science, from, unity. So absolutely people that, the baseline is the same as my baseline. Right, like-minded people. However, not everybody gets to the same place the same way.
That's correct.
Good point.
Yes.
It, like you said, like I can draw this, but I'm not, and Nicole said, oh, I wouldn't have gone about it that way. There are so many times, I've had a conversation with somebody and they'll say, well, why are you doing it this way? Well, this is the way I know to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's another way that works better for you, you get the same place, especially at work. Like when there's a thing, if you know another way, then do your way. This is how I do it. This is how I get to that answer or that space. So there is not one way.
Right.
There are many paths to God. There are many paths to the divine universal life source. There are many names, right? Do what works for you. That inner peace, that divine consciousness, that creativity that keeps you moving in a world that doesn't always acknowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
The best boss in the world, in my opinion, and I know you agree with this, the best boss in the world is the one that says, this is the product that I'm going for.
Yeah. This is the result.
This is
the
the result. This is the goal.
Yeah.
You do it however you need to do it to get it done.
Yep.
Instead of going, no, I want it done this way. And we've, a lot of us have had that experience. No, I want you to do it this way, this way. It's like, but you know what? There's a way that I would do it that would be more efficient than that for me. And so that to me is very, very important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Give us a book on that topic.
Yeah. I know somebody who wrote a book on that topic. Well, it does look we're in low battery, low power mode now. So it's a good time to end.
Beautiful.
So I thank you. Anybody? Anything? Huh? Okay. I will pray us out. So knowing that the creative divine spirit that is the universal life source of all, through all, as all, is me, is everyone here, and everyone within the sound of my voice. And knowing this, I say thank you. Thank you for this time together, for this ability to integrate creativity and bring it through out into the world as us. And for this, I say thank you. I thank you for this time together. And as we leave here, let us remember the creative life force that is us and bring that to others. Inspire others, bless others with this gift of creativity. Thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, universe, for this. I let it go. I call it good. And together we say,
And so
And
it is.
so it is.
So how can we support you?
well, thanks for asking. There are a couple of ways you can support us. One of those ways is to like and subscribe if you are on our Instagram or on our YouTube channel. And also join us on our Facebook group, Sofa Sundays. Another way you can do that is by going online to beginwithinministries.com, hit the donate button, give $1 million if you'd like, it's tax deductible. And if you would like to do that in payments, you can become a Spiritual Church Club partner for $45 a month or $75 for a couple or family. These are just some of the ways you can support us, but tell your friends, tell them that you got spiritually fed here. They should come over and check us out. We appreciate it. And we're so happy for our opportunity to have you and to experience this time together. So thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Oh, it does.
Thanks for watching. Tune in again next week at 11:11 a.m. Pacific Time, or Monday evening at 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
In partnership with New Thought Media Network.